Craving the perfect holiday snack? Check out Farmer Bill's Biltong. Think beef jerky, but better. No sugar, no preservatives, just pure animal protein goodness. Crafted from premium grass-fed beef or bison and air-dried to perfection, Farmer Bill's Biltong is nutrient-packed, energy-dense, and perfect for an on-the-go treat or a standout snack for your next party. My favorite is the original bison, but the other flavors like the original beef, smokehouse, and spicy chili had me second-guessing that choice more than once. Visit FarmerBillsProvisions.com to grab a 1-pound slab or a variety pack and use code BIZBIT10 for 10% off. Farmer Bill's Biltong, don't be the 2-liter guy at this year's Christmas party.
It doesn't just ring customers up and send them out the door. It does time tracking of employees. It interfaces with your accounting software. It interfaces with shopping carts. It has deep reporting that you can find, trends in your sales. So you can see, okay, we have busy hours between 9 and 11 and 3 to 5. So we need better staffing.
Welcome to the Business Bitcoinization Show, the show dedicated to helping you enrich your life and grow your business with Bitcoin, the hardest money on planet Earth. I'm your host, Josh Friedemann, and our guest today is Doug Morton, who's the founder of BTC Retail X, a point of sale that includes pricing in sats and a variety of Bitcoin payment rails and features. Doug built computers as a teen and transitioned into corporate tech support before becoming a tech consultant focused on point of sale and accounting consulting. He's a board member of the South Carolina Emerging Tech Association that took South Carolina's elected state treasurer to El Salvador in 2022 to learn about Bitcoin usage in El Salvador. Doug has been to El Salvador 3 times to support Me Premier Bitcoin and test students on Bitcoin to receive their Bitcoin diploma. Doug runs the South Carolina Bitcoin Blockchain Conference held in October in Charleston, South Carolina, has been in Bitcoin since 2017, and currently runs the Charleston Bitcoin meetup. If you have questions about point of sale for your business, I think you're going to enjoy today's interview. And if you're going to be at Bitcoin 2023, look for Doug and the South Carolina Emerging Tech Association at their booth in the bazaar. Now, before we get to our interview with Doug, we do have this week's Bitcoin Meetup Spotlight, and this week it is the Charleston Bitcoin Meetup. The Charleston Bitcoin Meetup is a group for anyone interested in the new financial technology called Bitcoin. They meet every second Saturday at noon at Common House Ale Works. Show up to ask questions, teach others, talk about new ideas, or just sit back and listen. They're extremely excited to meet and maybe even help create new Bitcoin enthusiasts. And if you're new to Bitcoin, they'll even give you a free copy of the Little Bitcoin book so you can start out with a simple overview of Bitcoin. You can find them on Twitter at Bitcoin_CHS or at bitcoincharleston.org. And if you don't happen to be in the Charleston area but want to find a Bitcoin meetup near you, I encourage you to download the Oshi app where you'll be able to do just that. Now, we're going to get to our interview with Doug right after this. Business owners, unlock the benefits Bitcoin has to offer your business with the Bitcoin for Business Quick Start Guide. This 27-page guide highlights the 6 ways you can grow your business with Bitcoin. Check it out in the show notes. Doug, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited. I'm getting on the podcast trail now, and so I'm looking forward to this.
Perfect. Well, I like to start off every single interview with a few questions that help us to get to know you a little bit better and give us some insight for our own lives. So you ready for these?
Yes, let's go.
When and how did you first learn about Bitcoin?
Realistically, it happened. It was in 2017. But I tried for the life of me to look for an email account from 2010, 2011 that I think had Bitcoin in it at one point, a receipt for maybe a couple. And because I remember talking about it way back then, because I've always been a techie. I've been a techie all my life. And, from hacking computers as a teenager to building them to, what I do now. But apparently I gave up a domain name a while back, and I think my email that was associated with that disappeared. And so c'est la vie. So the reality, though, is that 2017, I had really first heard about it during the bull market run, and promptly put it to the side and started mining Ethereum. And just because I didn't know, I didn't know anything about it. It was getting expensive compared to, the altcoins out there and Ethereum. And somebody had gotten me into an Ethereum miner, and I spent like $800 and promptly within 6 months sold every piece of it because it would crash every week. And I think I started day trading and altcoins, trying to find utility out of them, and would be up all night looking at streams, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., trying to see what China's doing to see if I can play the volatility, all the while trying to find utility, excuse me, out of these altcoins, thinking that I would make money for the company that built the shovels, like, for the gold rush. If you provide the hardware, that's the infrastructure, and maybe there'll be money in there. The reality is that these altcoins, I mean, I got wrecked multiple times. I remember a couple coins that I was following got hacked and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And these are all like small little, 4 or 5 person teams that were doing this. And so I quickly realized that their security was only as good as the developer's experience. And, fraud's out there, and bad programming is out there. And these people didn't know what the heck they were doing. Not just the one that I was focusing on, but multiple times people were getting burned. And this was during the ICO craze too. And so at one point, Durgigi I'd followed him on Twitter from the early days. And he had sent a tweet out that basically said, hey, if you are up all night and you're up all day and you're staring at a screen, looking at, red and green candles, and you're stressed out about money, you're probably in this for the wrong reason. And I was like, the light bulb went off, and I was like, yeah, this kind of sucks. What's this Bitcoin thing that you're talking about on Twitter? And so I read his stuff first, and I believe it was the 21 Lessons at that time, and quickly went down the rabbit hole. I mean, like it was like boop, there you go. This is the way. And just started reading everything and started following and getting into it. It took a couple of years though. I think I really got into Bitcoin where I consider myself, getting to a pleb status, 2019. And around that area is where I started ramping up, and then getting involved in the Emerging Tech Association that I'm part with, and then the Bitcoin meetups, which I'd been going to, but now, I've been the leader of it for a year and a half. So yeah, it's been about 6 years of hard work and trying to understand this, technology.
So plenty for us to talk about there, and hopefully we'll bring up some more of it later on in the interview. But now we have question number 2, which is this: what's an insight or fact about Bitcoin that you wish everyone understood?
Insight would probably be the empowerment that it provides people. The fund that's out there, like, Elizabeth Warren stuff and the IMF, and, they're all first on some kind of agenda, which is not Bitcoin. It's, whatever they're trying to do, whether it's control or maybe they actually think they're going down the right path. Who knows? But what I see when I've done my travels through El Salvador, and then I start doing research with people that are in Africa and seeing how they've been manipulated by the dollar, by the colonial franc, by, inflation, by, what have you, the powers that be, and see that when people start actually learning about Bitcoin at these grassroots levels and actually can use it as a method of exchange, as a store of value, as a ledger, the empowerment that it provides people, the freedom, and all of a sudden the light turns on. They're like, this is amazing. I can actually send money to somebody digitally across the country where I would have had to take a 5-hour bus ride and be, subject to gang violence, robbery on this bus, as opposed to, or not having a bank for, dirty fiat. So yes, I'd go with empowerment.
Question number 3 is this: what's the Bitcoin resource you most recommend to other people?
As you can see on my shoulders, I've got 2. I've got Little Bitcoin Book and Bitcoin and the American Dream. This was after years of trying to find something that was easily digested by, no coiners. And it's kind of funny because I think I kind of think I had blinders on because I'm a techie and I got it. I understood Bitcoin as soon as I started reading the Bitcoin Standard and started handing that out to people. It's a $20 book, $30 book, and would hand out a Bitcoin Standard book, and invariably it would get handed back to me by a lot of people because they're like going, yeah, this is a little too much for me. I said, well, I get it because it's, 7 chapters of the history of money. And then, the rest of it starts segueing into Bitcoin. And so I was like, okay, I understand that. Let's try the next one, Layered Money by Nick Bhatia, a great book. And I love the book. I'd start handing that out thinking, okay, maybe this will help. Nope. Get the same thing back. They'd hand it back and say, this is a little too over my head. And I was like, okay, let's go out and get 20 different Bitcoin books and start and see if this will help. And so that ended up coming on to the Little Bitcoin book. It's 100 pages, I think, written to be non-techy, easily digested, and they're only $10. And so that's the one that we actually give out at our Bitcoin meetups now. And so people come up, they read it, they like it. We ask for a donation if they want to, if it provides value. And otherwise, we give them away for free. Bitcoin in the American Dream, we're giving out to legislators and politicians and people who are creating regulation, because we deal with that as part of our nonprofit trade association. And that book talks more about use cases, real world use cases of Bitcoin and how it can empower people without all the techno jargon of a deeper book. So I actually just had to order a batch of both because we've got two different initiatives coming up here where we're actually going to go to a county committee meeting and talk about Bitcoin because they're trying to, I think they were trying to ban it in one county in North Carolina. We don't want to air. And so it's part of our outreach. So Little Bitcoin book and Bitcoin in the American Dream.
Question number 4, beyond Bitcoin, what is a tool, resource, or idea that's been helpful to you or your business recently?
So that was a tougher question for me to think about a little bit. It actually comes down to recently I was at Pleb Lab in Austin and was part of the startup pitch day. I was invited out there to announce BTC Retail Act. And they took a look at my pitch deck, and it was incredibly boring. Looking in hindsight, it was it was like a template from Google Spreadsheets or whatever it is, and it was incredibly boring. And so Carr over at Pleb Lab's like, dude, you need to go to Canva and see what they have for templates because it'll rock. And sure enough, Canva is the most recent tool. So I ended up getting a deck redesigned and, with the whole story of BTC Retail X and what we're looking to do to grow the company. And so Canva, I think it's canva.com. It was very cool.
So our final question, we call it our arbitrary but insightful question, is this. As a general life principle, is it better to ask why or why not?
Generally, for me, I think it's why not. I don't like being told no because most people just think of it as it's a carte blanche answer. The first thing out of their head is, nope, don't want to do it. It's like, why not? It comes down to, if somebody says no right off the bat and they're doing it because they don't even know anything that you're talking about, they're not educated or they're not, they're doing it out of fear or, not knowing what their future is. That's why you'd have to ask, well, why not? Because, one of the things that, and I don't think I actually ever saw the movie where was it Tom Hanks or whoever it was, said, they said, we're going to answer yes to every question during the day. Now we're going to say no. I can't remember what it was. It was like 20 years ago. And I've actually tried to do that and try to look a little deeper. And that would actually be why I went to El Salvador 3 times last year. I got asked to go in May of last year, April, I think, by Carlos Torriello of IBEX. It was on 10 days notice. And I was like going, that little devil was on my shoulder. And I said, nah, it'll be expensive. It'll you don't really know what's going on down there other than, you've heard of Bitcoin Beach and it's, like I said, 10 days away. I'll have to change my schedule, figure it all out. And within about a minute, I was like, no, get out of here. This will be amazing. Let's do it. I would say it was life-changing. I said, why not? Go down to El Salvador, hang out with them, see what they're doing on the ground, Bitcoin Beach, meet Premier Bitcoin, and ended up building relationships with people from all the way down to grassroots level, all the way up to top levels of government in El Salvador, to people that are actually using it and working with it and trying to promote it. And I would say, why not? And I did, and I went.
Meet Linkster, your premier Bitcoin-focused advisor. Linkster caters to businesses, institutions, family offices, and high-net-worth individuals. They merge your unique financial goals and needs with Linkster's Bitcoin expertise to craft your own sustainable plan to preserve and grow the value of your hard-earned profits and retained earnings. At Linkster, it's not just advice, it's tailored execution. Connect directly with the founder by visiting linkster.com. That's LYNCSTER.com. Linkster. Secure your future with Bitcoin. Today's episode of Business Bitcoinization is proudly brought to you by Velis Commerce, where the future of business technology meets Bitcoin. As we journey through the era of Bitcoin and its transformational impact on businesses, there's one name that stands out: Velis Commerce. Whether you're looking to build a cutting-edge website, a seamless mobile app, or custom software, Velis is your go-to team. They've been diving deep into the world of Bitcoin since 2014, making them one of the most experienced groups for integrating Bitcoin and Lightning payments into a variety of digital platforms. But here's what truly sets them apart. Velis Commerce doesn't just build. They bring a wealth of knowledge to ensure your project's success from day one. Their team understands the nuances of Bitcoin, ensuring that your business stays ahead of the curve. And for all business Bitcoinization listeners out there, Velis Commerce is offering a free consultation to kickstart your project the right way. So if you're ready to future-proof your business in the coming age of hyper-Bitcoinization, head over to veliscommerce.com or reach out on Twitter at veliscommerce. Let's make sure your business thrives in the Bitcoin era. Excellent. There's a lot to be said for staying open to possibilities. So, Doug, we're here today to talk about your business, BTC Retail X. So there are plenty of directions we can go, but could you just give us a brief overview of the business and what you're looking to do?
My background is retail point of sale, and I've been selling point of sale systems for 15, 17 years, something like that. I was never happy with the 800-pound gorilla mentality of the Fortune 500 companies that sell it. So Microsoft was in the game, NCR, QuickBooks, into QuickBooks. And although I was a reseller for both Microsoft and QuickBooks, they all just kind of just said, here's a product. Good luck. Hope you like it. And maybe we'll fix a bug along the way. You can submit it if you choose, but I don't know if we'll ever get to it. And so I never really liked that answer. And so many years ago, I was like, I want to build my own point of sale system. But I never really had the impetus to do it. It's I knew there would be a pretty decent expense, hiring the devs and putting it all together. And it ended up coming down to, once I got into the Bitcoin thing and Bitcoin became legal tender in El Salvador in 21, I was like, oh, I have a niche that I can fit here. And I was like, let me do some research. And so within 6 months, I had a platform. Basically, there's 10, 20 open source point of sale systems out there. And I remember doing the research on them several years prior. And these were some systems that had been deprecated and were lost on GitHub, and no one ever updated them. But I went and started testing a lot of them and whittled them down to 3 different systems. And then finally picked one that I ended up basically rebranding, supercharging, redesigning the UX, and building a point of sale system that has now turned into a store management system. So it doesn't just ring customers up and send them out the door. It does time tracking of employees. It interfaces with your accounting software. It interfaces with shopping carts. It has deep reporting that you can find, trends in your sales. So you can see, okay, we have busy hours between 9 and 11 and 3 to 5. So we need better staffing. And it's also hardware agnostic. So I built it to work on just about any hardware device. So it could be, on someone's cell phone in El Salvador, which everybody has a smartphone down there.
Yeah.
And, or it can be on your iPad, or it could be on a standard PC point of sale system that you see at any retail store you go to now, or on on the tablet systems that are popular. And try to make it as easy as possible and design it to be intuitive to use. So everything is like right up front. If you need to look up customers' history, you need to look up and see what their credit line is if you provide that. If you want to print price tags immediately, all of that is front and center and easy access. And but the whole goal originally was to basically provide this to companies in El Salvador, because, with legal tender being down there, the Fortune 500 companies were forced to switch over to accept Bitcoin. NCR's down there and a couple others that they put into place point of sale in McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, that kind of thing. But, it was technically a voluntary thing for smaller businesses to do it. And so over the last year that I've been going there, I've actually seen more businesses starting to accept it. Even the super selective grocery store, where the first time I went there, they're like, what's Bitcoin? To now they're taking Lightning payments. Not with my point of sale system, sadly, but that was the goal, was to do it there. The associated thing that we were trying to do was help with the remittance market here. So if I can get these point of sale systems into Hispanic grocery stores, or meat markets, or gas stations, what have you, and then they could do remittance back to El Salvador, which they can go to anywhere now. I mean, it's there. IBEX is doing a big push in Mexico for Lightning liquidity, and so I'm actually trying to hit that market too. So not just El Salvador, greater Central America, as well as Mexico, down to South America. And it's translated in 2 languages right now. Technically, the software is translated in a variety of languages, but the Bitcoin portion of it is in Spanish and English right now. Although I've been asked for it in German, and have a translator working on that.
So you've mentioned IBEX a couple of different times. How does BTC Retail X interface with that? What's the connection between the two? Because it seems like, at first glance, there might be a bit of a competition between the two, but it sounds like, in your view, they're 2 offerings that work in tandem. Is that right?
Yeah. It's basically, I built BTC Retail X. The reason BTC is in it for Bitcoin is because it accepts it in a variety of different ways. And so IBEX is a payment rail within the system. And BTC Pay Server is in it. OpenNode is connected to it. There's a wide variety of interfaces, like 14 different Bitcoin interfaces. BitPay is part of it. Azteco, you've heard of, Azteco's Bitcoin vouchers. They're built into the system. And so the flow for Bitcoin, you can see it priced in local currency as well as in sats. And that flows from the sales screen to the receipt to reports. And so that's where the Bitcoin portion of it comes into play. With IBEX, though, it's kind of a special relationship with them. They were the ones that brought me down to El Salvador originally for Meet Premier Bitcoin's initial graduation class last May. And so I was able to hang out with their developers and their upper management and build a relationship. And so I integrate several different parts of IBEX into the system, IBEX Pay, IBEX Hub, and which IBEX Hub is a pretty cool product because it's kind of like a community bank that they provide, and it allows me to build wallets for my own customers that are managed. So it is a custodial thing, but it's there's always that argument, self-custody or custody. And my belief, though, is that, if we're going to be orange pilling people out there in the greater world, custody is going to be part of the conversations because people are not necessarily going to want to manage their funds. And so, hopefully we're going to, build relationships with reputable companies that are going to be, able to do this on the up and up. So, and I believe IBEX is one of those companies. We're not competitors. We work hand in hand together. They are going to be announcing my software as being a compatible product with their offerings. They do have a rudimentary point of sale, but right now it's just basically a glorified wallet, where a pupuseria or a taco stand or whatever food trucks, they can have the IBEX Pay wallet. And I'm sure they'll be building some enhancements so they'll have touchscreen interface with products that a vendor selling, but we're not competitors. And I never really thought that, even when I was selling traditional point of sale, I never considered, Microsoft or NCR or enterprise companies my competitors either. It was more along the lines, yes, they're out there, but I have a different value structure, a value proposition that I think a store owner would appreciate. One, they're not dealing with corporate culture. They're not dealing with, phone desks that are uncaring, that don't know their story. And now with me being able to do this for 15 years, I've built many hundreds of relationships with my clients that I can count on today, that loyalty is there, and kind of see that flowing with what they're trying to do in IBEX as well.
Now, another question that I'm sure is going through business owners' minds right now is how this might work when it comes to their current point of sale. So is this something that has the capacity to replace, or is it something that runs alongside of other points of sale that are more USD focused? How should business owners be thinking about that when it comes to BTC Retail X?
On the surface, the greater part of this picture is that it is a full replacement system. So, it's a database, it's a web server, and however, the software itself is agnostic, and I can place it anywhere. So if a store owner has, say, a $5,000 investment on 2 point of sale hardware systems, I would say 99% of the time we're going to be able to incorporate that hardware, so they're not going to have that outlay. And then we're also doing the conversion of data as well. Might not be able to get customers' history, because that's usually those systems are all so disparate that transferring sales history is probably not going to happen. But transferring database lists, customers, products, suppliers, those kind of things, we can import that no problem. And generally do it for free. We'll have to review the spreadsheets, and if there's a lot of data massaging involved, then may have to charge something minor. But the reality is that it is a full service point of sale meant to replace existing systems. But it comes with it that it works as a traditional retail point of sale, but then it also has a zillion cutting edge implementations that Fortune 500 companies are scared to implement. Mainly, they don't want to troubleshoot it. They don't want to deal with it. And we've all been about, my devs and I, we're throwing stuff in here that we know works. Do BTC Pay servers been out for years, and it works great. And they keep putting new enhancements that we put in as well. And we do a lot of runtime as well, so we know how things work. And then we also know how, being Bitcoiners, we also know how to get it. If you want to be self-sovereign completely, we can do that. So, we'd throw a Start9 Embassy server on the back end, and you can have your wallet there, and you'll have privacy, self-sovereignty. But if you need a handhold or you need a blended situation, we'd probably put you on a voltage node, because, they got ClearNet and it's easy to communicate fast. So from the point of sale standpoint, it's basically a replacement. Now, we do have other tools, though. So if you want to facilitate remittance market software, then we could probably add that as a plugin to your existing system. A lot of the systems that are out there are open on the back end. We can talk to them. Just depends.
You mentioned a few minutes ago that you're able to integrate with a lot of the main systems. I'm wondering if you could, just for the business owner out there who's listening right now saying, hey, what's the easiest way for me to take this next step before I necessarily jump on, go all in? What are some of those larger brands that people tend to use that your system can integrate very effectively with?
primarily, I know Microsoft's, their old point of sale system and their old RMS system, both have been end of life, but they're still out there. I run into them fairly regularly. Those are completely open. They're on standard SQL databases, and so we can access that, no problem. QuickBooks is also QuickBooks point of sale and QuickBooks accounting. We can definitely talk to. NCR, on the other hand, they pretty much lock things down. So, they don't want to play with others. But pretty much most systems have some kind of export routine where we can at least get the basics, their product list. So if you've got 40,000 items in your database and don't want to type them in manually on a new system, totally get you. And we can pretty much help with that. So Sage Accounting, Sage, they've got a point of sale system on top of their accounting software. And that's a large accounting package. We can definitely pull that data.
Great. Well, that's very helpful. Hopefully it'll give people some things to begin thinking about. So if a conversation with you feels like the right thing at a certain point in time, they'll at least have a little bit of perspective when they come into that conversation. I do want to talk to you a little bit about the South Carolina Emerging Tech Association that you helped to lead. Could you talk a little bit about that and, maybe some things that business owners should be thinking about when it comes to emerging tech?
Yeah, the Emerging Tech Association, South Carolina Emerging Tech Association. I'm a board member, and we focus on three main things, but it extends to like 20 different technologies. But education on Bitcoin is the number one thing that we do. So we meet with legislators, regulators, business owners, and the general public, and teach Bitcoin. Its properties, why it's viable, why you should take it. We are starting the process of actually having organized classes. Generally, we do it from grassroots level through meetups or face-to-face with meetings with like our state treasurer. We had a meeting with him and showed him Lightning payments last year. And we actually took him, Curtis Loftus, our elected South Carolina state treasurer, to El Salvador on a trade junket, basically, to go explore the Bitcoin economy down there. And that was all facilitated through our Emerging Tech Association, which is a registered lobbyist organization in the state. And so we also, besides the education, we facilitate good legislation, good regulation regarding Bitcoin. And, so that these people, regulators and politicians, are educated on Bitcoin mining, on energy usage, on what Bitcoin is, why Lightning is instant, why Bitcoin might be on chain, might be some time lag, that kind of thing. The third thing we do is facilitate Bitcoin mining throughout the state. So we do some site planning, do some bird dogging to find locations that have energy available. We consult with various groups. We were at a $35 million facility opening up in the upstate last fall. And I think it was October or August, somewhere around there. And where they took a small little piece of land that could not be developed for a warehouse. It was like a chunk of a third of an acre or something like that. And where they couldn't put in a warehouse area. And we ended up being able to facilitate it, to put a mining facility on it. Cement pads, bring in trailers. And, it was in the news, and Treasurer came out. So that's kind of the stuff that we do within the Tech Association. However, it also is a little bit more, it's not Bitcoin specific, although that is a big part of this, maybe 90% of it. There's other groups that we facilitate as well in the state that have interest in, say, NFTs and the art world. With artificial intelligence, the tokenization of real estate assets. So there's a wide variety of things that are going on. And my focus just tends to be the Bitcoin part.
Well, Doug, I appreciate you sharing today. It's been very helpful, and looking forward to future conversations. Where would you like for people to go if they want to find more about you and BTC RetailX?
So the software site for the point of sale is btcretailx.com. I am on Twitter as Brews Bitcoin. It's BREWS Bitcoin, and where I talk about Bitcoin, beer, and technology. There's also a Nostr link, so if you're on Nostr, But BTC Retail X is the best place to find. You can make appointments on there so we can talk one-on-one. Send me an email. Best way to get me.
Great. Well, Doug, thanks so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, friends, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Business Bitcoinization Show. If you want to reach out to either me or Doug, you can find our links down in the show notes. And if you're looking for a point of sale for your business, consider BTC Retail X. As always, keep building, keep growing, and until next time, keep living and leading well. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, thank you. If you want to take a further step in your support for the show, you can help us grow by listening on Fountain, a value-for-value podcast app on iOS or Android. If you hear something you like that you disagree with or anything else, you can share it by sending some sats and adding a comment with your thoughts. Some of you have already done this, and I appreciate it. I'm going to begin reading your boosts on upcoming episodes, so if you have some insight or value to add, let the people know. Getting started with Fountain is easy. You can add Bitcoin to your Fountain wallet by using your fiat accounts or any Lightning wallet. And one of my favorite features is that once you're using the app, you can earn sats just by listening on Fountain. Check out the link in the show notes to get started with Fountain today.